Chapter 10. The network of the light, the network of the darkness. We're now going to enter even more, much more science fiction. Much more. In fact, I try to give you some background so that you are more ready to enter something where things could be reasonable, logical. But of course, you have to go much deeper into the topic and really to try freeing your mind totally to go into something that is much more intense and logical. So when I worked with the Master Omram, through my friend, I was pushed as well to work a lot about the colors and the visualization. The work of visualization at the beginning was very easy. I had to visualize a rainbow. You are going to say, easy peasy. No, I don't have to think to a rainbow. I have to look at the rainbow in the sky. I close my eyes and I really see a rainbow. And you will discover that this work is going to be very difficult. And as if you were in a 3D film or I don't know what, you can visualize the rainbow and you can enter one color. To be able to do that, you spend a lot of time of concentration. You spend a lot of time learning the colors. You read about the colors, what they are, the spirit of each color, what is provoking in your body. Then I had to work on the chakras to understand how chakra is working, how it is linked to one color, and why, and what is it provoking. Then I started, I used to do a lot of Hatha Yoga as well, but I started to practice the Hatha Yoga with each asana that is more stimulating one chakra, one color, qualities, and to be more and more aware of all of this, to enter completely into a field where you know the colors, and you, as you know your parents, your friends, your teachers. With the time, I started to know so well the spirit of the colors that I started to work. I started in the past to work a little bit with Vicky Wall from England. She was a blind lady. And she worked on the colors as well, so I had learned that a little bit in England in the past, and there I went much further into the colors until I could create the system of colors reading. So I have different filters of different colors. I developed with the colors of the aura, the color of the energy, and so on. And it went to a knowledge that is working. You sit down in front of me, you choose a certain quantity of colors regarding what you choose, and after that I translate these colors into words, into explanation, and the people are totally flabbergasted. I had people coming to me, they don't say a word, they sit down, they choose colors and can speak about their life, about their psychology and so on for hours. They don't say one word, and at the end they say, wow, it's fantastic. It is just undodgeable. My work has always been, very often at least, to change the world that is invisible into an accessible world that is visible, so that you can check by what you can have, or what you can get, what you can see, understand, between the world that is invisible and the visible fruit of this work. I worked also with the testament of the colors from the Master Peter Deneuve to understand even more the spirit of the colors. And it was a huge work of visualization. As well, I used to go to the sunrise with a prism and to put my gaze into one color and to feel what's happening in my body when I concentrate on some colors. That I look at the colors, that I'm swimming in the colors completely. And being able to, after that, by visualization, develop the same thing, the same perception, the same reactions, by visualizing a color. So you go into something very deep, very powerful, very intense. You develop your spirit to be more and more free. You go into a comprehension that is fantastic. You go into not only a new age knowledge, but into something that is working in your ability to visualize. And then you develop a lot of stuff. You go to the dentist, you visualize this color. You go to an exam and you are stressed, you visualize this color. It's becoming part of your abilities, part of your energetical body. It's not only a nice theory. There are things that you can do. The colors reading that you can do. People were ready to pay me a fortune for that. So I never asked for money. No, most of the time I didn't accept money, sometimes a little bit, but most of the time I did it for free. Here we're talking about, I learned psychology. With the knowledge of psychology, I cannot do that. With this, I could do that. And I still do it. And I was also pushed by the Master Master Omram, to know everything about the colors, because the Master Omram told me it will help you to understand who you are. And you have to know that very often this magical work of the light is so powerful that they know things that you cannot figure out now. It's not logical. You don't know. You don't know what we're talking about. And it's only with the time, with evolution, you say, wow. And sometimes when you say, wow, you have the absolute proof that it is correct. Because how could you imagine something like this? How could you? And it's a way to work about things that are not scientific in a completely scientific way. You analyze the results. You put all of this like in a computer and you try to calculate the statistics and you say, come on, with statistics, how could it be possible that somebody or something, an entity, knows? You could say, oh, you know what? Your girlfriend, she was creating, inventing everything. Ah, yes, she could calculate what would happen 20 years later, 25 years later. Really? Interesting. At one point, when I worked with the Master Omram, he asked me to be in contact with two sisters of the White Brotherhood. But I have to specify they are not sisters. They are called the two sisters. They are both of them married. They had at that time a husband, 2 kids. Now I don't know, because it's a long time ago. So we were just they were just working together, and as they were 2 sisters of the White Brotherhood, they were called the 2 sisters. And the Master Omram is talking to me about these 2 girls, 2 women. And they say, you are going to call them and to take an appointment because you have to work with them quickly. And I said, yeah, of course, no problem. I didn't get the phone number from the master, but it was very easy to find the phone number, or maybe I had it already, I don't remember. So next morning, I called. And there is one who is telling me, okay, but when you want to work with us? And I said, no, whenever you want, as soon as possible. And they said, well, you have to know we are overworked, and not before 2 years. or 1 year and a half, something like this. I said, oh, found that weird, because the master told me that I had to work with them very quickly. And I said, okay, fine, all right. And the girl said, in your case, I have a doubt. So I'm going to check something, and you are going to call me at the end of the day. So I said, all right, no problem. I mean, I didn't explain more. I didn't give any explanation. All right, so I do that. And in the evening, I called back, and they said, come tomorrow morning. And when I came and I said, how is it? I mean, why did you change like this? And they just told me, we have been checking something with somebody. And we knew that we had to do that quickly. What are they going to do with me? And I think that it is something very important to understand. They are going to ask me a lot of questions. So sorry, I was stopped. So what are they going to do with me? They're going to work with me. They lead me to cough, to cough even more, to cough. And they are going to work with the energy on me. They're going to do something extremely weird, horrible. And you feel like a spider, a huge spider, in your stomach, in your lungs, in your body, that is like cord, that is moving slowly, that is obliged to leave your body, to go to your throat. And I swear, in the throat, you feel like this spider moving in your throat, so huge and so horrible. And you cough more and more. And at one point, you have the feeling that it goes out of your mouth. And you salive so much, and you feel so. And the two sisters, they work like they are catching something, and they threw that with pepper into the fire. And you're there, what happened? What's this shit? And they started to explain that even if they could see that I am working a lot, we are still full of darkness, of traumas. We believe in so many things. We're so out of control because we have been swallowing so many shit from the society, from our traumas, from our fears. And they told me, now something is going to change radically in your life. And I said, what do you mean? And they just smiled and they said, you can improve much more, and you will be able to learn much more. And I was asking, so what? What do you mean? And they say, you will understand very quickly what we're talking about. And when I speak about this story, I want you to understand that I'm talking about a sort of network of knowledge. You have people, you go somewhere and you're welcome. You don't show your passport, you don't show your diplomas, but you're just welcome. Because there is something else. It's another level. So I go back home, and a new time, the Master Omram is going to come during the night. And is going to say, for a long time, I will not come anymore. And I said, what? He was my master. He was my friend. I respected the rules. I was always working. I never spoke to anybody. What? And he said, I'm going to teach you a new way. You are going to visualize, as you have been working with the colors, you are going to visualize a powerful channel of light in which you are plunged, that goes to the floor and that is coming from the sky. And by doing so, I will be there. I will not be talking the same way. It will not be so spectacular and so weird. It will be directly within yourself. But because it is directly within yourself, you will experiment much more. You will receive much more. And he said, you will not be sad. You will not be sorry. It's a new step of evolution in your life. You are going to be directly in contact with the light, much more than what you're doing now. And your friend that has been accepting with her soul to work is now too tired. With our work, we go higher and higher, and now she cannot bear more. If you want to go higher, you have to do that directly with your own energy, not anymore going through her. You will not be sad. I will always be with you. The light is with you forever. And he went away. And in spite of what he told me, I was so sorry. I went outside with my dog to walk my dog. And I walked in the forest not far from me, from my place, and I cried a lot. Really, deeply. And I tried to cool down, to respect what the Master was asking me, not to be sad and not to cry. So in the middle of the forest, I sat down and I started to meditate. I visualized intensely a channel of light, and I said, Master, talk to me. I want to stay with you. Talk to me. And I received something from the inside, warm, intense, a little bit when this shape was going through me in the garden of my brother, something warm, intense, powerful, and I just heard, I am there. We are with you. We have been with you forever. And that's all. That's all, just a little sentence. It was intense, much richer than before because it was not outside but inside. But at the same time, I had nothing. It was really just a short sentence. So I tried many times to have other things, and every time I had the same feeling, like a meeting with the light, with a sort of marvelous, fantastic, warm ghost or something, spirit. But each time it was just a short sentence. I started to be quite frustrated because before I used to have conversations of 2-3 hours sometimes with the Master Omram, and now they were just like very short meetings of 1 minute. So at one point I said, okay, I have to face the situation. So one evening I started to meditate, and I asked, teach me the way to develop a strong connection with you. I want to be able to hear and to learn like before, to go further in my studies. I concentrated a lot, visualized a channel of light and everything else, and there I had nothing at all. So I had learned also another exercise, which is very funny, even if it looks weird like this. It is to write a letter. You write a letter, you turn your letter as if you're writing to somebody, and you ask for the ways to develop, the means to develop, to be deeply in contact with the light, with Master Omram and so on. And you write this letter, you close it, you put it into an envelope, and you put it underneath your bed, your pillow. Then you go to sleep and you concentrate on your dreams. And as I learned, I didn't speak about this, I learned to control my dreams, to wake up in the night, to write down the content of the dreams and so on. I thought, maybe there, it's a protocol. You commit yourself into asking something, and maybe you concentrate and you have that. So I did it and I had nothing. So in the morning, I wake up quite early, I'm frustrated. So I go to the sunrise to practice Surya Yoga, which is the meditation of the sunrise. And I'm going to do an intense Surya Yoga. And I have nothing. So I practice pranayama, the gymnastic of the chakras, which is a combination to concentrate on each color of the rainbow. And I have nothing. Then I apply an exercise, transfer of energy with a tree, that I explained already in a chapter before. Every time it's great, it's cool, it's intense, but I have nothing. Then I walk in the forest, I go between the trees, and I really walk in harmony with the forest. I try to ask the entities of the forest to teach me the way, because now I don't have Omram coming anymore to explain. And I have nothing. And then, quite disappointed, quite frustrated, I'm going to bow to the forest, to the nature, to the world, and just to say thank you. And when I do that, there is a wind, like in the garden of my brother, going through me, very warm, very intense, with this sentence: you have your answer. Work each second. You have your answer. Work each second. So when you hear that, what does it mean? For me, it's different because it goes inside me. And when I have this sentence that I turn like this, I have also the information that everything that I did to get the answer was already the answer. If I want to contact more, to be more stable in my contact, Surya Yoga, meditation, the sunrise, gymnastic of the chakra, transfer of energy with the trees, connecting with the dreams, meditation with the channel of light. Everything that I did to try to find the answer was already the answer. Because for this network of light existing everywhere, they don't work the same way. They give you a lot of information, very intense, in a way that you don't expect. You have to understand that you're in communication with something that is much higher, much more intense than the simple intellectual communication. Therefore, it is, you have to develop a different way. And you have to understand that as the light is contacting you in a certain way that has nothing to do with humanity, the darkness is also contacting you in a different way. Through people influencing you, making you believe that nothing is possible, pushing you to go completely down, to accept the darkness, to accept the problems, to accept the submission. And you will understand that the darkness is invading you without asking you anything, while the light is invading you only if you ask for. That's the huge difference. But what you don't know is that when you hear my explanations about all this work with the light, you're going to say, wow, such a huge amount of work. Yes, absolutely. But you don't know that you do the same with the darkness every day, with the TV, with the computer, with the socializing, with the fears, with the drugs, with the alcohol, with the meat that you eat that is full of blood of fear and hatred, with animals that are slaughtered like nothing. So you apply, you receive, you welcome, you call the network of darkness with everything that you do. The difference is that they are not asking you your opinion and receive a lot of conditioning from the darkness. The education of the light is working nearly the same way, but you have to do things. You have to decide to clean and to reject the darkness. You have to open yourself to the light. You have to be completely with the light. And then, when you do that, you open your mind and you discover things. And with the time, you develop a different knowledge, a different contact, a different way of getting information, getting security. With the practice, I developed much more contact. And the contacts were getting easier, more intense, and very long. And much more intense because it is directly within yourself, inside yourself. When I did this exercise with you have your answer each second, I was working in a center called Sakuni. And it was a center for delinquents, very violent, about 18 years old, extremely violent. They were always with the knives, and I had to fight very often. And my record was in one weekend 7 cows. Not on me, on the others, because sometimes they were really crazy, and it was really, really tonic. In fact, I was paid the salary of a month for 6 days of work in the month, 24 hours. I was going from Saturday morning until Monday morning, 3 weekends in the month, and I had a complete salary, a good salary. So you can imagine that with that, it was very, very, very tonic. It's clear. And this weekend, it was absolutely incredible. If you imagine the people extremely violent, stealing with knives and everything, drugs. This weekend, all the young people around me, 17, 18 years old, they behave like angels. I swear, angels. So cool, so nice, angels. And when I left, I felt this, after 2 days, I felt this contact with the light. I felt this intensity, this power that was coming. And when I took my car, I started to drive. I thought, I don't know exactly what's happening to me, but it is something fantastic. I am at the door of a power, of an awareness. Oh my God. And there, when I am driving, something goes through me. And I have a sentence. Be humble. Stay humble. The pride is a shield against your guide of light. And I was after that driving, completely down on my seat. Why doesn't matter? Yeah, because everything that you receive, you have to handle it. Not to slide into power, into manipulation. You have to be in peace, you have to be cool, you have to face with courage that you have that or that, and you have to relax. The thing that I found very notable is that with the Master Omram, he always refused, as I told you, to speak about sex. But after that, I was not only with Omram, I was also with a guide. But to speak before about the guide, I have to speak about Gita Malash, because it's like this, that again, something happened in my mind to open something larger. Why? Gita Malash is a woman who wrote a book called Dialogue with the Angel. And it is during the war, she was in contact with the angel, and thanks to that she did some miracles, and 3 other people were. So there were 4 people, a team, and each one was a contact with an angel. And one day, I am with these teenagers again, so it's a bit later on, 1 or 2 weeks later, and I am working with them for the weekend. It's unbearable, they are violent, they are disgusting, they are spitting, stealing, real pleasure. And at one point we're in a mall center, and I ask them, you stay alone 1 minute, maximum 1 minute, because after 2 minutes everything is destroyed in the mall center. And I go very quickly to a bookshop. I mean, we're just in front, so I enter the bookshop. I see a book of Omram, I buy it, and I go to the cashier to pay. And when I am about to pay it, I realized that it was not a book of Omram, but Dialogue with the Angel from Gita Malash. And oh shit, I made a mistake. I read the back cover, and I thought, oh, that's cool. The teenagers were in front of me. I couldn't go back and get a new book, so I had no choice. I just bought this one. It doesn't matter. And I read this book, and it was more or less my story. I mean, different story. This one is during the war and so on, but still, it's, wow. And I read this book in maybe 1 week. After 1 week, I am outside. I walk. I am free in the afternoon. I don't know what I had to do. And I saw a flyers somewhere with a conference with Gita Malash in my town. Just after finishing the book, I said, oh my God, no. But where is it? Oh, next street. But when is it? Oh, just now. Okay, I just went. That's all. I entered the place. It was a cinema where she was talking, an old cinema. And I am there just at the beginning of the conference. She's talking, she's explaining, and it's an open mic. And she's explaining a lot of cool stuff. And at one point, a lot of people were asking questions, very complicated questions. When it was my turn, I asked a question coming from my heart. I told her what I felt the first time that Omram came, what I really felt when I was so happy, so touched by his presence and the miracle. So I told her, Gita, when the angels came, your soul exploded of joy. It was so fantastic, so marvelous. It was a joy that goes above the joys that we can have on this planet. It was like a firework coming from the inside. You are not afraid to lose it, to forget it, and to be one of the other humans of this civilization. And that was my question, but I didn't realize that my question was not the question of somebody who only read the book, but the question of somebody who is living that, who is experimenting that. And she smiled. She looked at me and she said, no, you cannot forget that, because it belongs to you forever. It's part of what you are now, forever. Nothing else. Next question. And if I go with my ego, I would say, hey, you answered 10 or quarter of an hour for each question, and me just have a sentence, you must be joking. But I said nothing, because this answer was deeply touching me, because this woman had really something. And when the conference is over, she had to pass by the room, because it was a cinema. She couldn't leave behind. And when she crossed, I was on the side, sitting, and she stopped on my level. She put her hand on my shoulder, and she just said, it's good what's happening to you. Go on. She smiled, and she went away. And I thought, oh my, she knows. I mean, she was one of the first people, maybe the first one to know. I don't remember precisely, but one of the first, or the first one. So after that, she was outside, in another room. I wanted to go to talk to her, to see. And she was surrounded by at least 100 people with the book. Could you sign the book? Blah, 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 blah. And I hate this, because I don't like the craziness and adoration about people. So I just left. I said, it's not for me. When I was at home, I thought, Eji, you're stupid. You're really stupid. And the next day, I thought, I'm going to go back to this cinema, and I will see if she left something for a workshop or whatever. So I go there, and when I arrived there, Gita was arriving as well. And when she saw me, she said, that's why I had to come back. Okay, wait 1 second. She did some paper with them, I don't know, a quarter of an hour, and we spent the complete afternoon together. We became very good friends. She taught me a lot of stuff about the light. And she taught me something. She taught me that there is not one master. As I had the tendency to believe with Master Omram, she said there's a complete network of light. Everyone has a guide, and even different guides, different angels. And then I thought, what? How do you organize all of this? She explained also to me what I explained already to you. The tasks that you have to accomplish are the keys of your evolution, the way to make your soul growing up, so that your soul is happy of your reincarnation, as your body is using the guidance of the reincarnation, of the soul. The soul is using the body as well to grow up and to evolve as well. So it's a life of symbiosis between the ego and the soul. That's what we call the individuality, the indivisible duality. That can be a duality on a certain aspect of view, but in fact it's like a accumulation between black and white, yin-yang. When I go home, I talk to my guides, to the Master Omram, and I asked this, and he said, yes, of course, but Omram is part of the light. We are the light. We are not Omram. And I said, I'm lost. I mean, I was talking to a master that I knew. I'm not talking to a group. What is it about? And I said, if you are so many, how do you organize? How do you know that this one has been talking to this one, that this one has been talking to this one? When are you going to do something? Isn't it going to be contradiction with this one? I'm lost. And they just laughed and they said, we all have our individual life, but we all think with the same brain. And when I heard that, because it was inside myself, I felt the meaning of the fantastic, marvelous, luminous brotherhood, where everybody understands everybody so much that we think with the same brain, in spite of being independent from each other. But the same brain is the network of light, the network of love, the network of life. And from that, my brain evolved, my ideas evolved, and I was not anymore talking to Omram, but to a brotherhood called Ofim. Ofim means basically the Essenians, the entity that is turned to the light. Omram is part of this, but is not the only one. So I was talking to one entity that is accumulation of entities. And when I was with these entities, they started to speak about sex. Not only about this, but also about this. And that was very weird because Omram never spoke about this. And they spoke in a very different way. They explained that the sexuality is not bad, and that we should be totally open to sexuality, that everything is allowed in sexuality as long as we are not hurting somebody else, as long as we are not using somebody who doesn't want to have this sexuality. But even homosexuality and so on, this doesn't matter, as long as you're attracted to the love, to the light, to the pleasure, to the intensity, there's no problem. Whatever you do, whatever the form of what you do is absolutely fine. And you work to have very intense orgasms. We have a lot of protocols to develop that, to have very strong orgasms. And when you have an orgasm, you are going to give this explosion of intensity to the sky, to us. We use this light as a firework that we turn to humanity to improve our civilization. your civilization. So the more you work into sexuality, that you do sexual stuff, phantasms, you create scenarios, you invent, you go to fuck in the forest, whatever you want. If it is intense, if it is magical, if it is, so powerful, you are preparing something for the intensity, for the world, for the brotherhood of humanity. And they explain that sexuality is a vibration that is half physical vibration, it's the body, it's the instinct, the hormones and so on, and it is half spiritual. And if you don't feel well in the spirituality, it's because you give 100% to the body. Or you feel frustrated because you give 100% to the spirituality. And in fact, the real sexuality is to be extremely creative, extremely free, to do everything that you can invent on the physical plan to be intense, but when you explode, you give this explosion to the light with love and compassion. You visualize that you project everything exactly like the ball of light. They invited me as well to be very free and to be as often as I could naked, to be really nudist, to go to places where I could enjoy the sun and be naked. And I developed the protocol of going walking in the mountains in summer with my backpack and naked. I knew some places, I was back in Ardèche at that time, where you could walk for days and days without meeting anyone. In fact, I did that for some years, and only once I didn't hear a couple arriving, and I was facing a couple walking also in the completely lost area, and I was naked. It was too late. I didn't hear them. So, no, hello, sorry, just passing by. And but the rest of the time, I'm just naked in the forest, swimming, running, climbing, being alone in peace, directly with the nature, and talking to the entities, developing your abilities to be with the forest, with a waterfall, with everything. And I remember that one time I was lying down on a rock, getting tent, just by the side of a river, with a waterfall on the side, and the other side it was the forest. I was alone, after going to swim, sweating and so on. And there I started to get excited and I masturbated. And of course I came. In spite of being alone, it's called a masturbation. E.g., when you're alone, it's a masturbation. Ah yes, that's it. All right. And after that, I spoke with the guides about this. I said, I was masturbating. And they just answered, what is more natural than a source of life exploding in an intense source of life of the nature? And you're there, yes, sin like this? Yeah, of course. The sexuality by the light is not perceived as something bad. It is perceived as something of power, of energy. One day, that was before, but when I was learning about sexuality and so on, I had sex with my girlfriend, and because of all of this, and even already before I was free, but after that I was even more free, because the more I was preparing intensity in the sexuality, the more I could give to the sky. So it was nearly like a magical protocol. So we had sex with my girlfriend, and we did a lot of stuff that I'm not going to tell you, dirty people, but very, very intense, biting, licking, everything you want, sweating a lot. And after that, I went outside and I was walking my dog, and I thought, oh shit, they saw us, because they're always there. And they answered, I was walking, and they answered, and they said, that's funny, because you never think, or you never thought that we're there when you're shitting or peeing. It's not very glorious. Why would you be thinking of us watching and being disgusted when you have sex, and not thinking of us when you're shitting? Because when you shit, you have no choice. You have to do that, and you have no choice. The sex, you have the choice. You can be linked to the light, or you can be linked only to the animals, to the animality. And when you do everything that you need to do so that you give us such an intensity of light that we give back to humanity, it's marvelous, it's fantastic. We're not here to judge, we're here to guide, to protect, to help. To help humanity, you included, to evolve into what you should be, all of you. And you're an actor in this, because you have always been with the light. I learned that the colors had always been existing. I learned that the sexuality was part of my life even before, that my abilities to learn this or that were existing in my life before. But it is with the visualization and with the creation of my mind, because I accept a new possibility, that I can open the synapses, the power, the neuroplasticity to go into a certain evolution. If I have a negative belief, which is the conditioning of the darkness, everything that I believe negative is creating a new impossibility. I can measure my links to the darkness by the quantity of impossibilities that I have in my existence. To kick the darkness out and to be with the light is being able to be very different on many things. Like the fact of being free to be naked, very simple, but also to visualize colors and to link to yourself with the colors. And by this network of the light, to start to be aware of things that you're not supposed to know. To give information to people where they start to say, hey, how do you do that? And you start to be completely psychic, medium, and to be able to do a lot of stuff that people are totally unable to do. And everything that you cannot do is the manifestation of something that you believe negative. If I take the sexuality, it's not a secret. In biology, when you are 20, 30, you need sex every day. In spite of this, most of the people, they're going to have sex and to need sex every week, every month, every year, some of them. But the biology is saying every day. If you don't do it every day, it is because you have a negative belief of the church. It's bad, it's dirty, it's only when you are married, it's whatever you want to believe. And because you believe that, you're blocking your biology or even denying that you masturbate. And from that, you're going to create a new reality that has nothing to do with the real reality. You go into the conception of a world that is coming from the negative beliefs of your existence. It's the same about contacting the light. You can contact the light. But it is very hard to contact the light in the middle of this sheet of darkness, in the middle of these negative beliefs, in the middle of these traumas, of these fears. But they are only negative beliefs. Walking to the light means cleaning yourself from the darkness. One day I asked the angels, the entities, to clarify a little bit, and they said, you see, let's imagine that you live in the jungle and you have a sword, and at one point you decide to react a little bit. So you start to cut 2 or 3 branches, and then you are not anymore in the darkness. You have some beams of the sun, but not a lot. And you start to realize that you're quite dirty. So you're going to clean yourself. And once you clean, you go to a little bit of light, and you feel a bit stronger and more motivated, warmer. So you cut more branches. And when you do that, you have more light, and you realize that you are dirty in spite of what you have been washing before. So you wash again, you get rid of the darkness that you discover thanks to the light that you call to you by your work. And then you enjoy the light, and then you are stronger, and you cut more branches and more branches. And every time you realize that you have to wash, and at one point the light is so intense that it goes through you, and you discover a lot of darkness within yourself. And the light is more intense, and it goes to your skeleton, to your essence, to your soul. And until the light is reaching the soul, you are still working to become one with the light. And to become one with the light means to go to the light, but to clean yourself, to get rid of all this shit. That is the way to get rid of these negative beliefs. It's not that I am more able than you. It is not that I have a magical knowledge to do things. It is that I don't believe anymore in most of the negative stuff of the world, even if, for sure, I still have some negative beliefs after so many decades of work, because there are still some hiding here or there. But I am much more able, I'm even able to see without my eyes now. In spite of being blind, I see with different protocols, because I don't have the negative belief of being blind. The light, the love, the joy are everywhere. But of course, we doubt so much. It's normal. One day, because I wanted to accumulate work, I was still working physically. At that time, I was a master in martial arts, yoga, Tai Chi. I was working a lot. I had a lot of different schools. And because that is happening, you have to understand that all of this is happening in parallel with the Bon Fin. It means that when I told you the story of the Bon Fin, the story of the Bon Fin, of course, is going much further after everything that I'm explaining now. When I arrived in the Bon Fin, the second time, I was directly in contact with Ofim, with the guide. And I went different times in the Bon Fin. I went as a volunteer. 1 year the first time, 3 months, the second year, 5 months, and after that I started to leave everything and to stay around Fréjus, as I explained, and so on. So for the story of the Bon Fin, I jumped some stories, and now I go backwards. I explain some stuff, and then we will put more and more the story of the Bon Fin in parallel. So at that time, I work a lot, I practice a lot, and I can take part in a workshop with the two sisters. The two sisters that helped me, they knew about the Master Omram, and now I understood even more what they were doing with their guides and what they did with this spider of darkness within myself and everything else. So I was very, very excited to meet them. And in the evening, before the workshop, I was in my house and I asked to my guide what would be about this meeting and on what I have to concentrate to make my meeting with the sisters very powerful. And they said, you will have a conversation about the purity. And the purity is the essence of being always pure with the light, without being guided by sex, by power, by money, to stay always simple and pure like a kid, as you have always been with the light. There are many traps. Concentrate with them about the conversation about purity. It's the essence of everything to be one with us. I was a bit surprised because the workshop was from the morning to the evening, at least 40 people, and I didn't see a conversation about the purity in a workshop like this. But I thought, okay, doesn't matter, we'll see. Next morning, I am in my parking, 3 o'clock in the morning, to leave because it was 200 kilometers away. The time to arrive, it was starting at 6, 7 o'clock, something like this, whatever. So I am alone in the parking in the middle of the night. And when I want to start the engine of my car, And nothing. I tried to repair, no way, nothing. Finished, no workshop. And there I came back in my house, and honestly I was very angry and very frustrated, and I thought, now I have the proof that I'm crazy, that I am inventing everything, because if I were in contact with a guide, with an entity, I'm sorry, but they would have known that I will never go to this fucking workshop. So that's a proof now. And I said, I don't want to hear about this story anymore. 1 week later, it was so attractive, so fantastic, I decided to ignore this mistake and to go back to the work. And I was full of doubts. So, as I had been learning a lot with the Master Omram, I said, let's try to be very serious and open, you know? Everything that I perceive, I can invent it. Maybe I'm just inventing every answer. They are super cool, but in this state of meditation, I can be inspired and I can invent everything in this sort of craziness, schizophrenia. And the answer came, don't doubt. The doubt leads to craziness. It was a short but powerful answer, because at the same time I was invaded by the security, the surety of being with something that was giving me peace, power and love. So I am with the light and I feel secure with the light. There's this intense security, this intense power. And I enjoy with the light, discovering a lot of work. And every day I used to be with the guides 2 or 3 hours, every day in the forest. And in my work, maybe, I don't know, 6 months later, I don't remember precisely, I'm going to work in the south of France, ready for my work. And when I have finished my work, I realized that I'm very close to the house of one of the 2 sisters. But I don't know exactly where they are, because I met them the first time in another place. So I really don't know. And one had moved even, so I really don't know where to go. But I had a vague description of a house, and I saw one, and I said, it could be there, I'm not sure. So I go there. And you have to understand that they don't live together, of course, because there are 2 mothers. So they have their family and so on. You know, they are very active in a lot of stuff. And I arrive, and it's the right house. And the 2 girls are together. They are talking, having a coffee. So they tell me, oh, Ichi, that's a long time ago. Be welcome, enter, have a coffee with us. And we're going to have a coffee. And we're going to talk about purity. And we spent the complete afternoon together. And they gave me a lot of tricks about purity. I spoke about sexuality and they said, yes, we agree completely. The intensity of sexuality has nothing to do with the impurity. The sex is a path of purity for your body to be fit, to be attractive, to commit yourself completely into what you do, but they spoke about impurity, into the power, into the manipulation, into the lies, and all those things. But I had totally forgotten the story of before, you know. And when I left, I was quite excited and happy to have spent such a long time with them, because you understand that's not exactly the topic you can speak a lot about with other people. And when I am outside, I take my car, I drive a little bit, and I said, what? What is it about? I stopped, oh my God. I stop, I sit down, and I meditate. And you have to know that even if I received, I was writing inside, I was writing down everything. Not recording, but writing down. All right. And I meditate about this. And then I receive a message. We told you that you will have a very important conversation about the purity. We never told you when. The when that you have decided that we didn't say so, that you have been injecting into what we said, it's pollution from your mental, from your spirit. You have to learn to select, to know what is coming from you and what is coming from us. Then they gave the date of the workshop that I had totally forgotten, the blah, 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 this date. You have been learning your patience and faith. Don't ever doubt. The doubt leads to craziness. Be one with us, pure, with a complete faith, with a complete commitment. It is the path of the gathering, you and us as one, in the heart of God. I was so amazed with the fantastic meeting, with everything that I learned, giving me confirmation about a lot of stuff I received, and even that at the end. And then I was just smiling, and I thought, you know what? Even if I am inventing everything, it doesn't matter, because in that case, I am a fantastic genius. So as long as there's a genius guiding me to the light, to the peace, to the love, to the power, what's wrong? I don't care. I don't need to know who is talking. I check if it's working, and indeed, it is working a lot. In the evolution, some years later, I am now living in the Capitou. It was after the 2 times in the Bonfin as a volunteer, and I have now my house in the Capitou, close to the Bonfin. It's warm, it's the summer, and I hear from outside Yolande, who is calling me. I recognize her voice, and I thought, what? And I hear she's calling me again. I said, what? I go outside, I go out the window, I look at the window, who is calling me? And I hear even clearer the voice of Yolande calling me by my name, as she used to do. And I was watching, what's that? And of course I didn't see her. And you have to know that Yolande said a very sensitive topic, because I was so touched by her, so deeply touched by her, that I could feel a lot of stuff. But I never felt Yolande, never had the smallest contact, never had the feeling that she was there, nothing. It was the only time that I heard a voice like this. A little bit later on, I went to meditate at the rock, where we used to do the sunrise, where I met the Master Omram and everything else. I go there, and in the meditation of the sunrise that I did very often, I was invoking entities of him and entities of the nature, a deva, Altea, and other entities like this, where I could feel more the story of the flowers. I tried to read what the flowers can do to us with elixirs. I was reading directly a lot of stuff. Sometimes I was more concentrating on the Master Omram, sometimes more on the entity of him, the globality of this group. And one day I thought, oh my God, I never called the Master Bain Saduno, Peter the Nov. That's funny. I never thought of calling him. It was a topic that I was always rejecting because I told you only twice, but 2 stories, but in fact, I had different people who met me. Oh, you are the reincarnation of the Master Peter Denov. And I said, fuck off, leave me in peace. Because I always wanted to increase, to improve. And as I said before, if I was a cleaning woman or a butcher or a logger, then today I am E.G., Master of Martial Arts, receiving messages, improving, learning, fantastic. But I don't want to hear about a special reincarnation because I am far from being a master, so it would be like an insult to me. It's funny because most of the people they have phantasms to be a fantastic reincarnation of Akhenaton, San John, and no. And so I go to the rock and I never called the Master Peter Denov. So I concentrated to invoke the Master Peter Denov, to be in contact with him, to learn from a older, maybe higher position than even Omram. And there the answer strikes. You cannot invoke yourself. And I remember I stood up and said, What? No. What is that? No, you cool down, no. Bad concentration. So I sat down, I took my time to relax, to go into a very deep meditation, and I called the Master Bain Saduno, and the answer came. You cannot invoke yourself. You can only remember who you are. And I stayed there. I said, oh no, please, no, not that, please, no. And I was extremely unwell with that, extremely. I started to cry a lot, and I said, please, not that, please, no, please, no. Help me, no, I don't want to hear that, no, please. And after crying a lot, I started to relax and I said, but if it's true, why do I know it only now? Why? No, it's impossible, no, help me. And I started to do a very deep meditation. And I saw myself in the bedroom while I was talking to the Master Omram in the bedroom, when I argued with him about this letter Shin above his face in the picture, when he told me, so, how long have you been starting again the teaching of the Master Peter Denov? No, how long ago have you been starting again our teaching? That is the teaching of the Master Peter Denov Ben Saduno and Omram Mikhail Ivanov. I saw that, and we were 2 in the room. How long have you been starting again our teaching? That is the teaching of the Master Peter Denov Ben Saduno and of the Master Omram Mikhail Ivanov. And when I saw that, I said, the Master Omram told me that many years ago, but I refused it. I didn't want to hear. And there, I was obliged to accept. And then everything became logical. Why? The Master at the rock, at the sunrise, he jumped to my side, and he was talking to me without saying a word, and as if he was meeting an old friend and explaining everything that he did. why he was writing like this. And he said, you are here at home. Of course, I am at home. I understood as well that Claire Joyce didn't see clearly things. She said that the Master came to give me his cane, his seat, and his cushion on which he was sitting, and his hat. No, he came in front of Joyce Clark to tell me that I was the Master, Peter Deneuve. But Joyce saw it as if Omram was telling me that would be the new Master. Maybe the new Master, but also the old Master. Everything took form in 1 second. It has always been in front of me, the people from the Bonfin. It has always been there. I just didn't want to see it, to recognize it. And it has been blocking me so much. I didn't speak about this to anyone. It was too painful, too burning, too intense, too private. I had an entity that started to come, and that was called the Companion. And the Companion was an ancient disciple of the Master Peter Deneuve. And he said, I am here to teach you everything that you taught me. It was our contract. When you died and when I died, it was decided that I would be waiting for your coming back to teach you everything, to give you back everything so that you don't lose time. And after that, I will have the right to go to reincarnate again. And he came to teach me to have more and more knowledge from the past. But as well, while he was doing that, he was giving me a special direct link to my memory of Peter Deneuve, until I could remember the places where I was, the doors, the rooms. I was learning more and more the direct memory of the Master Peter Deneuve. At the same time came another entity called Dory. And Dory is a fairy that came to teach me how to sing. From there, I started to learn how to sing, how to play music, how to understand the music, how to perceive the colors of the music, how to perceive the music as I learned to perceive the colors before, to link my work to the musics, like the work I did with the colors, with the chakras, until everything is becoming extremely clear. She taught me to practice a lot of improvisation, to be able to express something. For instance, she was asking, seeing your father, seeing your mother, seeing your dog. And when you do an improvisation about somebody, you express everything right and wrong from your perception between you and this person. And I learned, instead of doing the colors reading, to do the music reading. You sing something, and I tell you what you're saying. And she did a lot to myself, and also to other people, because I started to open to other people. And I learned really how to perceive all of this, how to control all of this. And with the time, I worked. So now again, I go further in the future. I worked with Dory for years. For years. I am still with her now. That was at least 20 years ago. For 20 years, I have been with Dory. And with the time, I learned her history. After 10 years, maybe, I learned her history. She was a young Russian girl, and it was during a time of starvation in Russia where a lot of people were dying. And she was called every time that somebody was dying, and she came to sing. And she helped the people who had no food to die with the music, with her singings. She was doing improvisation and singing something marvelous for the people who were dying. Then herself died of starvation, and when she died, she was singing for herself while she was dying. And she died with the music, and she became the fairy Dory. Then, when the master Peter Denov invented the panorhythmy and practiced the panorhythmy, a lot of people were dancing different circles in Bulgaria. And the master Peter Denov, to avoid the jealousy, was singing around the orchestra that was in the center of the circle. And he was just dancing alone in the circle of the orchestra, around the orchestra. And the people could see a shape appearing of sort of fog, cloud, light, very difficult to perceive, but there. And he was obviously dancing with an entity. And this entity was Dory. You have to understand as well that I will always speak about the Master Peter Denov as the Master Peter Denov. I will never speak about myself, because even if it's the same soul, it's a different story. So it is the Master Peter Denov and it is E.G. And when I discovered all of this, Dory told me that it was very important for me to live something intense. So that I would start a new journey to the light, and that I needed a strong motivation. And that's why she looked after me. And I said, Dory, I don't understand what you're talking about. And Dory told me, I love you so much. I always loved you. And I said, thank you, but I was like sort of panicking. I felt something, but it was not clear in my mind. And she said, happiness, discreet ghost that we often notice only by the act of its death. And when she was talking like this and saying this sentence, her voice softly changed when she was giving the sentence. The beginning of the sentence was Dory. The end of the sentence was the voice of Yolande. And she said, I will never leave you. I love you intensely. As you always loved me. I asked you to live and be happy for two people. You did it as a Ben Saduno. You do it now. But we are never separated. Our love belongs to another plan of existence. And again, you are going to think that I spend my time on that, but I speak only about this time. I cried so much, so much. I cried so intensely that for hours I couldn't breathe. I was just sangloting, crying so much. And she was just talking with the voice of Yolande and saying, I glorify your love. We are together forever. You are not alone. And when you leave this planet, I will be there, waiting for you. I had never seen that Dory was Yolande. But again, with the story of Yolande, I was totally open to the light. She did her part. The love to Yolande guided me to what I am, to what I have always been. An entity of light that is motivated by the love. And with the time, it's like a puzzle, a cosmic puzzle, where each piece is coherent and logical. Yes. And when you do that, you see the love everywhere, absolutely everywhere. And you'll understand by this that you need the motivation of intensity to go to the light. You'll understand that you need the love to enlighten your path and stimulate everything that you do. And it is so intense, so marvelous, so fantastic. And when everything is coherent, then it's much easier. Now my difficulties are more the fact of being interested on this plan of existence, because you understand that I have a lot of friends somewhere else. But as Peter de Nave, I have to be there to bring to the others the light, the knowledge, the truth, the love. But if everybody is refusing the light, you understand that dying is not a suicide. You call suicide a death because for you, you express that after the life there is nothing. Oh my God, he's going to die. No, he's going to move to the plan of existence where he has his friends and his love. But now, the point is that I stay here long enough with the love story. Maybe with a girl, with my friends, with my brothers and sisters. But if you believe that you can kidnap me here, only with the cold and the darkness, no. I have a way out. If I have no brotherhood here, I'll have a brotherhood in my house. And the fact that you find sad that I live is because you express your negative beliefs about the life that is the only possible life, the biological life. The biological life is one tool to manifest the light at one plan of existence, one level of existence. If I have finished my task about the light in this plan of existence because everybody is refusing, I have the right to go somewhere else. I do this work about the intensity of the light just to make sure that I have finished my work. If people still need to learn and to improve, I will do my best. Not for a long time, I'm sorry. But I can still do something, or I can leave because my existence became totally useless on this plan of existence. In this situation, you will understand that one day I had to go back to Bulgaria without giving any name, without any cinema. I did that some years ago, so there we are very much in the future. I mean, in my past, but in the future in the story. I did that with Mia. I went to visit the 7 lakes of Vrila, and I went also in the old house of the Master Pain Saduno. And there was a meeting with a lot of people, and we could go to the house, and I was with Mia, and I said, yes, that's the bedroom. The bed was there was a cupboard there and a table there. And after that we saw some pictures, and it was exactly as I described. And Mia was quite flabbergasted because she was far from knowing everything. She was just there, so she heard me talking when I described the room. And after that, there were many people in the garden because it was a sort of workshop. And we were asked to work on the beams of colors from the work of the master Peter Denov. So we were divided into groups of 4 people. And each group had to describe one beam of color, the spirit of this beam, how it is, what it means, everything else. We had 20 minutes to prepare that, the 4 of us, and to decide how we are going to present that and so on. And in my team, the 3 others, maybe there was also Mia, I don't remember, they were totally unable to describe the beam that we had, which was the highest beam, which is the diamond beam, which is the concentration, the pure light of every color together. So the 3 others, they say, E.G., we have no clue. Could you explain? Could you explain? And I tried to, oh no, we do it together, but they all said, no. And after that, we have the exercise. So the group of the red, they start to explain the orange. Sometimes it was good, sometimes not so good. And then it's arriving to our team. And I say, okay, we go. And they say, no. So I stood up and I started to explain the beam of diamond. And of course, with everything I did in the past and with my memories of Peter Denov, even if I didn't say anything about what I could remember, I could explain. And I started to speak for about 20 minutes, half an hour. The people there I was with a girl who was translating into Bulgarian. And the people were flabbergasted. They all sat down. I was the only one standing, and I was just talking, walking around and explaining. In the garden of Bein Saduno, in Bulgaria, with disciples of Bulgaria. And after that, some people came to see me and they said, that was fantastic. You spoke like the Master Peter Denov. We had the feeling to be in front of the Master Peter Denov. It was fantastic, marvelous. What an event. And there I remembered what the Master Omram told me when he pushed me to learn the beams of colors. He told me, you have to learn that as well, to know precisely and understand deeply who you are. And there I understood that it was a new seed that will sprout later on, many years, decades later. And when I was in Bulgaria, that I gave this short conference about the diamond's beam, I knew again deeply the truth. You have to understand that when we speak about reincarnations, you have to go into something very deep, very technical, that you can check if you have the knowledge, if you have some events that are really proving all of this. I did also another verification because I found that very interesting. I took the astrological themes. I found somebody who was into astrology, a professional, and I explained a little bit the story. And I said, what is interesting for me is to accumulate the 3 themes. My date of birth as Bein Saduno, my date of death as Bein Saduno, and my date of birth as EG. It's not every time that we can do that, you know? It's not classical. For me, it was very interesting, and for the girl, it was something fantastic for her. She was there, and she said, I can confirm to you absolutely that you're the same entity. It's absolutely sure. And she showed the two themes of astrology from the two births, and she said it's nearly the same. That's really weird, because in astrology, your life of today is not really a life. It's the continuity of the life of the Master Peter Dunov. You came to finish what you were doing. And then I remember that when I died, I said to my two disciples who were on my side when I died, a little task is accomplished. Meaning that it was not yet over. Now, in this world of darkness of today, it is honestly very hard, in spite of the complete work that I did to get back everything. It's really hard to understand what I'm supposed to do in this plan of existence. Because in this plan of existence is now existing only darkness and lies. They don't give a fuck about the light and the knowledge of the light. And this woman could tell me, this is what you accomplished during your life, your evolution as a Peter Dunov, then you died with that. And when you go back to the life, again, it is 16 years later, you have accomplished some task while you were dead. You have been evolving in your lapse of time between your death and your rebirth. And there we could really check that when you're dead, you're also doing some stuff and you're evolving as well. So you'll understand again that your obsession to believe only in the physical life is now the reality. When you work on a lot of different levels, my God, you have no idea everything that you can discover. Another time, it was before that time, so I knew already about Peter Dunov and so on. I went to visit a woman, Annie Murray. And you have to know that if you say Annie Murray in Hebrew, you are saying, I am a teacher. Annie Murray, I am a teacher. I couldn't find her house. I was lost. And I saw like a channel of light going on one house. So I went there and said, yeah, it's my house, be welcome. And this lady started to work with me to explain how she was working. So she said, she explained that she was judging some stuff with the system, with the arms, explaining the meaning of all of this. And you have to know that at that time I was working on the trauma that I had, because my path to the light has always been as well to discover the light and the power of the light, the knowledge of the light, and everything that was dark in me, my traumas, my fears, my beliefs, everything else. Negative beliefs, I mean. And I was working on something that happened to me when I was a kid. According to me, it was about 2 or 3 years old, and I had like a big trauma, but I had no idea what was this trauma. I suppose a big argumentation between dad and mom, or a sex story that I saw between my mom and dad, something like this, you know. I was around this, but I couldn't find. I knew that it was when I was very young, but I couldn't find. And when I'm going to sit in front of this lady, she's going to tell me, first sentence, what has been happening to this kid of 1 year and a half. 1 year and a half. And oh my God. Oh my, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. She's going to describe to me that I was sleeping. She's going to describe where I was sleeping, which position, and I checked everything with my mom after that, and it was absolutely true and correct. And she said at one point, your brother is going to enter the bedroom and is going to slam the door after that, close the door violently, and you are going to wake up with this sound. And then you're going to call. You cannot go out of your bed because it's a special bed for kids. You cannot go out. You are shouting, you are calling, you stay alone, stuck there, and you are totally terrified. How could I find such an event? Sex story, argumentation, fight, but just a door. And you have to know that when she did that, she described the situation and she told me 3, countdown. You are in your bed, you're in this position. 2, there is your brother who is entering, there's that and that. 1, it is like this. And suddenly the door is closed, blam, violently. 0. And when she did it so well that I remember I was recording but also writing down some notes. And when she did it, I even dropped the pen. I was so surprised. She did it pretty well. You have to know as well that since always, as far as I could remember, when I was meditating or falling asleep, I could hear the door. Always. Blam! And then I could sleep. Meditation, blam! And then I could meditate. And you're going to say, but of course you see that, you notice that. No, because I always lived with that. It was part of my existence since always. It was part of the furniture. And since she did that, I never heard the door again. Never. And this lady, at one point, she's going to tell me, you have 3 brothers. And I said, no, I have 2 brothers. Already, I could be alone. Or I said, no, I have 2 brothers. I said, no, you have 3 brothers. I'm sorry, I know, I have 3 brothers. She said, I have 2 brothers. And she said, no, you have 3 brothers. And oh, yeah, of course, I have 3 brothers. Excuse me. You have to know that I have a brother who is 20 years older than me. So it's not my brother for me, it's my uncle. I was never in the same house. I never saw him. I just saw him visiting the house from time to time. For me, he's more my uncle than my brother. And that's why I said, no, I have 2 brothers, because I don't know if you realize the level of this woman. She's talking about my own family. She's telling me I have 3 brothers. 3 brothers. No, I have 2 brothers. And she's insisting, no, you have 3. I'm sorry, I know, I have 2. No, you have 3. Do you realize the level of somebody to be sure in such a way? This lady, she's going to talk to me about many things. 7 hours recorded, not one single mistake about the past and about the future. There were, at that time, a lot of people turning around me. It was at the time of the Bon Fin. A lot of psychic people who had perceived the new star going up with my abilities more and more. And I was asking to her, what do you give as a quotation to this one? And she was, doing her system, quotation on 20, and she said, oh, this one, 2 on 20, try to avoid. Oh, this one, 3 on 20, try to avoid. Oh, this one, 1 on 20, try to avoid. And then I asked about Madeleine Chavano. And she said, oh, this one, it's nearly the perfection. 18 on 20. Then she said, end of the life. In 6 months, she's dead. And when she spoke like this, Madeleine Chavano was perfectly fit as she has always been. Not the smallest sign of the smallest doubt. She was like starting to be 150 years old, And exactly 6 months later, she started to be ill, and in 2 weeks maximum, she died. Wow. And she started to speak to me about Peter Deneuve. And she said, you have to assimilate totally this knowledge. You have to be in peace with this. Because if you don't accept what you are unable to accept what you have to do to finish your work. what you did in one life was too intense for only one life. So you accepted to do this task for 2 lives. This is why you say that a little task is accomplished, because you had to finish your task. And you're here for that. And as long as you stay too humble about this reincarnation, not comfortable 100% with this reincarnation, you will not be able to finish what you have to do. Accept and be one with what you are. The fact that she's saying that is not a proof, of course, but with the accumulation of everything all together, we have a little problem to deny. And there it would be anti-scientifical to say that all of this is just random. Of course it cannot be. Of course it cannot be. Another proof that I discovered through a system that I did more or less at the period of Animure, I think, maybe 1 or 2 years later. I heard about somebody who is doing some magnetism with a weird protocol. He was analyzing your vibrations on a scale of 7,500. So when you had 7,500, you were like an Olympic champion. When you had 7,000, you were fit. 6,000, you were quite weak. 5,000, you were really weak. 4,000, you are really, really ill. 3,000, you couldn't stand anymore. You were in your bed. 2,000, you couldn't contact people anymore. 1,000, you were in the coma. 0, you're dead, basically. And so I went just because I like to try things, to discover, to be always open. So I went, and I didn't tell him that I was diabetic, which is a violent illness, honestly. And he's going to concentrate on me, on my globality. And he's going to find 7,500. He said, you are super fit. You're a super champion. And it's true that full of muscles, young, tonic, I could look like this, but in fact, the inside is very different. So I thought, you are not going to get my money. I will not pay you. It's a big scam. Then he's going to concentrate on my organic body. That's what he called. And he's going to go on 4,000 and to stop. And he said, wow, that's totally impossible. You have an organic body of 4,000. But you have a globality of your body on 7,500. It's impossible. No one can get a sort of agony in the inside, on the organs, and to have 7,500 and the globality. It's impossible. So I thought, maybe you will get your money, I don't know. Then it's going to work on my mental body. And on my mental body is going to get 7,500. And I thought, yeah, that's probable because I have optimal concentration and so on. So yeah, maybe. And after that, it's going to concentrate on my spiritual body. And on my spiritual body is going up to 45,000. And then he's looking at me after that and he's saying, wow, have you ever heard of channeling, calling entities and being linked to the light? And I said, yes. And I thought, okay, I'm afraid I'm going to pay you finally. And then he explained, he said, when you're in contact with these entities, it is giving you so much energy that you are extremely powerful, more than what a human could do. Therefore, it is balancing with your organs that are really unwell. And that's why in the globality, you have 7,500. Again, it's not a proof, but it's not written on my face, especially at that time, because I'm not blind and so on, I have nothing. It's not written on my face that I am diabetic, that I'm really ill. It's not written on my face that I am in contact with these entities. So this guy is really good, yes, but it is again bringing a proof that all of this is not a theory, but a reality that some people subtle can even measure. To give a sum up all this chapter and this story. Again, I don't respect anymore completely the evolution of the timing, because it's a bit too complicated to cut like this. But you have different aspects now of the same story and the evolution through the years. You have to understand that a real evolution into spirituality is linked to intensity and perfect body, perfect commitment to the maximum of what you can do. It is a path of humility, simplicity, and at the same time, you are always checking, always trying to make things clear and perfect, not to believe too easily, but not also refusing to believe because you want to be scientific, which by definition would be an anti-science, because you deny because you're afraid. It is cleaning the darkness. I had to clean a lot of darkness, to get rid of a lot of stuff about sexuality, about illusions, about fears. And that is only a small part. I've been discovering so many other things, like how to leave your physical body, how to discover the fields of energy in the world, so many other things that you will hear about later on. But you have to understand that it is going to the light and leaving the darkness behind. Discovering the light gives you the power to discover the darkness that you have within yourself, and the darkness that is around you and that is always trying to invade you, so that you stay stuck with the fears, with the negative beliefs. Walking to the light means abandoning completely your existence to the love. Don't blackmail. Don't be jealous. Don't hurt. Don't betray. Be one. Be one with the love. Recognize the love everywhere around you. Be in peace with this love. Accept the love. Accept the freedom. Accept the intensity of truth, joy, and peace. Accept to leave everything behind you. Abandon everything. Jesus Christ said, abandon everything and follow me. You have no idea how true it is. But we have to leave behind is not so much the money and the power. It is your illusions, your negative beliefs, your limitations, your fears. You leave all of this behind you, and you hug deeply the light, the love, the truth. And then in this intensity, in this brotherhood, in this love nest, we are one, all of us, one.